Hello, hello, hello. Happy Friday. I hope you guys are having a wonderful Friday and you're going to enjoy your weekend. We have a lot to talk about tonight about the Shanquella case and kind of various topics. We're going to talk about Shanquella's sister who has finally broken her silence. We're going to talk about Shanquella's mother and her frustration with the FBI and just some of her progress with this tragedy. And then we're going to just talk about, whether the U.S. can pursue criminal action against the Cabo sickos. I call them sickos, or Cabo six if you guys want to call them that. And then we're going to just kind of end the live just talking about some integrity issues that relate to some bloggers out there. Because there was one particular blogger that challenged individuals to find stuff or whatever, and it kind of concerned me because I was like thinking in my mind, I relied upon this person for a source for a story, and come to find out that person was incorrect. So it was interesting that he pointed that out today, because I was like, well, I do have an example on one of my own recordings. So we'll get into that also. So we have a lot to talk about. So let's first talk about Shanquella's sister. It's so sad. She is going through a lot. I know a lot of you guys have seen this article that Shanquella's sister has done she did an interview with Essence, and it's just very sad. It was very hard for Shanquella's sister to come out and speak. I don't know if you guys have been following this story, but Shanquella's sister was actually going to speak on Gerald Jackson's NC Beat platform, and it was so difficult for her. So it's a huge progress for her to come forward and speak to Essence. So I wanted to read this article to you regarding, oh goodness, I hate pop-ups, regarding her indications and about what happened. So basically she said they were all giving us a lie. Shanquella's sister speaks out. Mexican authorities have issued an arrest warrant in the killing of Shanquella Robinson, and her older sister talks to Essence about their last moments together. And it's pretty sad because never in a million years would she ever have thought this would be the last time she would see her sister. The last moments with her sister is kind of like routine, like nothing you would ever expect, asking for her to borrow her luggage. You wouldn't think anything of it. So I know as an older sister, she really didn't think anything of it, not realizing that she would never see her sister again. This article was released yesterday, November 30th. So this is a brand new, fresh statement from her sister. It's not something that she said, previously. It's something she just released. So the last time Tequila Long saw her sister, Shanquella Robinson, was when Robinson visited her home on the night of October 27, 2022. Robinson was leaving the next day on a group trip with friends to San Jose del Cabo, a tourist town in the south of Baja California Sur, Mexico. She actually came here to borrow a piece of luggage of mine to take on the trip. And that is so sad, knowing that, man, I can't imagine. The last moment she sees her sister, and her sister's borrowing the very luggage that she's taking with her, and never to return. That is so sad. Long shares with Essence, I thought she was going with the people she always traveled with. So it wasn't any reason for me to have any ill feelings toward her going out of town. I just tell her to be safe. And the interesting part about this statement is these weren't people that Shanquella always traveled with. The only person that she always traveled with, based upon the information I've seen out there, was Khalil. So for sure, it's, feeling comfort that Khalil was with her. Khalil was the one that invited her to this trip. I haven't seen so far any photos or anything showing that Shanquella has gone on any faraway trips with Dejanay, with Winter Donovan, with Elise, or with Malik, or with Nazir. So the only thing I could think of this is just that she felt comfort, probably because Khalil was going with Shanquella, and that was her friend for many years. She said, so soon after, Long learned that her sister died on the trip. There were conflicting stories. Long heard that there had been a fight, but she trusted another account from a male friend. And who do you think that male friend was? Khalil Cook. See, Khalil Cook, the Judas of the group, portrayed this image of perfection around Shanquella, around her family members, around her sibling, her sister, and to the point where her mother, Shanquella's mother, and Shanquella's older sister trusted Khalil. And they trusted Khalil so much that even though they were told the truth, someone told them about this fight, you can see the trust they really had in this betrayer, this evil person, Khalil, because she said she trusted him over someone else who told her about the fight. She said, but she trusted another account from a male. That shows you the significant impact of and gravity of deception that Khalil had on Shanquella, who died of alcohol poison. It's because he lied and said she died of alcohol poisoning. And they trusted him because of his continual deception. And that is something very dangerous and something that we all need to know as individuals in society, that you will have these people that you think are your closest friends, people that your family members have met, people like, in this situation that have met and trusted, only to realize that these people are really wolves in sheep clothing, like Khalil was. She said, I was more believing the dude. Exactly. I was more believing the liar, Khalil, that she went on the trip with because that was her best friend. This statement right here is very telling. You don't really know in this world who is your best friend. Sometimes the people that's most close to you will be the person that betrays you. He put blinders not only on poor Shanquella, but he blindsided Shanquella's sister and her mother, going on all these trips with them, smiling in their face, looking them in the eye, then had the nerve to go to Shanquella's sister's house, while her mother was there, eat their food, look in their eyes, and lie to their face. This story has truly shook the trust of our society. Yes, of our society, because it's really caused us as who watch this story to really question the relationships around us. Those best friends, those people that smile on our face every day, those people that we think we can trust with our life. In reality, the Word of God says, trust no one but Him. And this story now demonstrates why. Trust no one. It's sad because people are so easy to trust anyone. From bloggers online, they'll quickly follow a blogger just because they have a lot of subscribers, or they're cunning. There's a lot of cunning people. To co-workers, to people at the grocery store, anybody, they're just so gullible. But this story really scared all of us, because this is so sad. What she said, I was more believing the dude she went on the trip with because that was her best friend. She said, so I didn't think he would be malicious about anything. Malicious. That's a key word she used, malicious. The expectations we have, sometimes it's not reality. People that smile in our face are really backstabbers. You know that song, they smiling in your face? Backstabbers is so true. It is so true. And Shanquella's sister said, I didn't think that he would tell us a lie. This really hurt me right here when she said, I trusted him. Shanquella did too. That's why she went on the trip. Shanquella would have never gone on that trip but for trusting Khalil, somebody she loved. And we know that she loved him because you just go to her Instagram and click on her highlights, and there's a clip where she tells Khalil that she loves him. She's like, I love him. I'm gonna put him on my payroll. She put on she wrote down at the bottom of the picture. This is so devastating that Shanquella trusted him. That's why she felt safe. She didn't think anything of it. Even though all the signs were in front of her when she was there, none of it bothered her because she probably was thinking, oh, it doesn't matter if they don't like me. I'm with Khalil. He got my back. Which is, in a way, I know she saw the signs, because if you look at her Facebook, and we went through her Facebook, so you'll have to watch the video on it. She wrote for about 2 years, from 2020 to 2021, about fake friends, people that were jealous of her, that claimed to be their friends, saying, if you're really my friend, you would protect me, you would step in if I'm being WWE'd. If y'all know what that means. Because that's what happened in this case. She literally was treated like she was in a WWE fighting match, and nobody stepped in. Not even Khalil. He sat there looking pitiful. You could see the side where his beard was, looking pitiful. No emotions. And she said, so I took his word for it more than anything. He said it was alcohol poisoning. This whole sentence, this whole paragraph right here is so sad, because it's like, it shows the deception of some people around us. I was more believing the dude that she went on the trip with, because that was her best friend. Man, that hit like daggers in my heart to hear that. The very best friend. The very best friend, notice who was the most vocal about the lie. He was the one that called her mother to push the lie about the alcohol poisoning. He was the one that kept coming to Shanquella's mother and sister each day, pushing this lie on them, forcing them to try to force them, to pressure them to believe this lie. He was the one that brought over Dejanay, brought over Winter Donovan to continue to push this fake lie. He, the very best friend, was the one that was the most vocal one to keep trying to persuade them to believe this lie. And I think he was pushing this lie so much, in my opinion, is because he didn't want them to get an autopsy. He wanted them to take his word for it, because he was the best friend, allegedly. And I say allegedly because I don't believe he's the best friend at all. And he was so good at persuading these people, or so good at convincing them that he really was a best friend, that the sister Sally trusted him. I trusted him. I didn't think he would tell us a lie, because sometimes the people around you are wolves in sheep's clothing. And here we see this beautiful picture with her lovely family, her lovely sister, this close-knit family here. And they all look alike. They're so beautiful. So here's Tequila Long here on the left. If you guys already don't know, she is Tequila Long. This is Salamandra in the middle, the mother. And we have our beautiful, beloved Shanquella. Because this is really all about her. There's been a lot of distractions in this case, but at the end of the day, we need to put our focus on what really matters, is getting justice for Shanquella. Eventually, 3 of Robinson's friends came to her home in Charlotte, North Carolina. The sister's mom, Salamandra, was also there. They came to meet my mother to talk about the incident that happened in Cabo. The 2 young ladies and the male told us that there wasn't any type of fighting going on. Sat there, looked him in the face, and lied. And sometimes that happens to all of us. We have these friends that look you in the eyes, pretending like they care about you, and they lying. Told us, this is the ultimate betrayal. She said, The two young ladies, we know who those two young ladies, they came to meet my mother to talk about the incident that happened in Cabo. The two young ladies and the male. So who do we know that is now? Based upon the information we received, Winter Donovan, the murderer, in my opinion, Dejanay. And that's allegedly, but I still think it's her. And Khalil. Those three told them that there wasn't any fighting going on. And they sat there and ate in their house. Can you imagine how traumatizing it is now after the fact that the mother and Tequila have to think that, man, the woman that allegedly murdered my sister looked me in the eye and ate from my food, sat at my table, looked me in the eye, the very alleged murderer. Can you believe that? And the two that sat there and conspired with her, allegedly. I can't even imagine the pain that they're going through. To think about that now, I have to reflect on it, hindsight 2020, just thinking, man, these people sat here, this woman who beat my sister or beat my daughter, she looked me in the eye, in my house, eating my food, used the very hands that she used to take my child's life, allegedly. She touched my plates. She touched my silverware. She was looking me in the eye. She walked in to my house with the very legs and feet that she used to kick my sister or my sister or daughter, which one's thinking it, in the head while she was on the ground. Imagine the thoughts they're thinking now. She said they came to meet my mother to talk about the incident that happened in Cabo. The two young ladies and the male told us that there wasn't any type of fighting going on, that they believed that the medic told him that it was alcohol poisoning, knowing it was a lie. We asked him about the fight because we was hearing from other people that they was out there fighting her. They had jumped on her out there. So they always given us a story, a lie, until the video surfaced. And once that video surfaced, y'all know they disappeared. In November, a video went viral allegedly showing an attack of Robinson while on their Cabo vacation. The family had yet to see the video. Then the three friends visited her Charlotte home. In the video, a woman is seen throwing punches repeatedly to another woman's head. In the background, someone says, "Quella, can you at least fight back?" And we suspect that to be Malik. The friends' conflicting stories have been compounded by vague reports from authorities. The U.S. State Department reportedly stated that there was no clear evidence of foul play. A death certificate obtained by Queen City News says Robinson died of a spinal cord injury, and it does not mention alcohol poisoning. In a section addressing whether the death was accidental or violent, someone answered yes. So it was unclear what authorities meant to select. And I think they were trying to say it was accidental. I think they were trying to cover this up. But for this case going viral, now they had to retract that. After the video was released by an unnamed source, the video became more focused. Oh gosh, I hate these pop-ups, y'all. They just be popping up. It says, "I was livid," Long shares, when asked about her reaction after seeing it. Tequila said, "I was extremely upset. When I saw the video, I automatically yelled. At that moment, I was wishing I was there. I played the video over and over again. They had to wake her up out of her sleep because she sleeps naked." So now we have a theory here. And if you notice in the video, because I'm not going to play the video, guys, But if you notice in the video, there is the area where the slide is, it's opened. And that was one of my theories. I told you my final theory was I think that she was woke up. It was around the morning time, around October 29th. But also now, if you look at the sliding door, the slide by where they were first at, it appears as though, because Dejanay's right by that sliding door, it appears as though she must have walked in from that sliding door that was open. That's how it looks like she got into the room. Because it's like, how did she get over there it would be weird if she just walked into the room, went by the sliding door. It appeared as though she went that way. And then the other group followed her from the opposite direction into the door entrance part to block Shanquella, which in my opinion looks like a setup, in my opinion. And this is what I say. I don't personally think they planned this before coming to Cabo. I don't think that's what happened. I just think that they didn't like this girl before coming to Cabo. They probably didn't want her to come, but Khalil convinced them to let her come so that she can help pay for the villa and other things. Because a lot of times when people go on these trips, they want to have a lot of people come so that they can, divide up the payment of things and stuff like that. So what I think was, in this case, they were like, Khalil convinced them like, oh yeah, let Shanquella come because she can help pay for the villa. But there is some rumors that she actually paid for the full villa. That's the rumors, which is why she got the master bedroom. And again, that's just an allegation that people are saying. There has not been anything to confirm that. But if anybody knows about these trips where there's like girl trips and group trips, a lot of times people want a group of people to come to help divide up the expenses. So my opinion is, it's just an opinion, is that before this whole trip, they didn't want her to come. They didn't care for her. They knew her from college. They knew of her. She was an acquaintance. But I personally don't think Dejanay liked Shanquella. I think it's been Dejanay from the beginning, in my opinion. And just Dejanay just happened to influence the others because, like I said, it's all a clique. They follow the crowd. They follow the lead, basically. Follow the lead. And in my opinion, it looks as though, from the observations I've seen, Dejanay appears to be the stronger personality in that group, the one that is stronger in her convictions, and seems to be the lead of the group. And then I feel like the second stronger opinion that I'm observing in the videos, it appears to be Winter Donovan. But the lead in that clique, in my opinion, would have been Dejanay. And I think Dejanay was the one that had the insecurity and the intimidation as it relates to Shanquella. And of course, I also think Khalil had some jealousy because he had this PPP loan trying to get his businesses up and running. And he could see that his friend Shanquella was popping and he was not popping, in my opinion. And since they were all a Cabo Six, they were a clique already before this, dating back to their childhood. We at least have pictures showing since 2012. Shanquella didn't come till later on down the line in college. You can see the bond that the Cabo Six already had before Shanquella ever came into the picture. So this makes a lot of sense now, guys, like where she says they had to have woke her up out of her sleep because she sleeps naked. I believe the sister over anything that she was woke up. You can tell in the video because, as we talked about on prior videos, Shanquella did not look like she was fully aware of what was going on. And anybody can say, when you're just waking up, you're not really fully aware of what's going on. You may not be as responsive to things because you're still trying to get up. And she was literally probably in a deep sleep and woke out of her sleep and still trying to register, what is this whole thing about? In my opinion. So let's read that again because it looks like the sister is dropping some bombs. She said, I played that video over and over again. They had to have woke, and I'm just going to change what she said. She said they had to have wake her up out of her sleep, but it's really they had to have woke her up out of her sleep because she sleeps naked. We actually have an explicit statement from the sister. And she said, and she was naked standing there. And here she is fighting this girl. And yes, they had to woke her up. But also, Shanquella didn't look like she was too concerned with them seeing her naked, like not trying to cover herself and stuff. So that probably also goes to the analysis of when we saw her skinny dipping all by herself. It doesn't look like she has any discomfort with them seeing her that way, because she's okay with going skinny dipping and stuff like that. And you can see that they didn't want to go with her because they probably weren't comfortable in their own skin, probably, for whatever their reasons were. Like I said, I think they just were just not trying to be around her because of Dejanay, in my opinion. The lead of the bunch, the hater of the bunch, the insecure one. She had some real deep-rooted insecurities. When you think about it, all this stems down to a deep-rooted insecurity, in my opinion, that Dejanay had, in my opinion. And her insecurity got the best of her because she saw somebody that outshined her and had everything that she could not ever be in her mindset, in my opinion. And she said, and my sister's like 5'1" and 100 pounds. That image of her didn't sit well with me. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. To imagine, she said she played that video over and over again. Imagine how traumatizing. And she automatically yelled and wanted to be there to protect her sister because she could see in that video nobody was there for her. She felt betrayed just as Shanquella did, because the very man, Khalil, hint, hint, that everybody in that family trusted betrayed all of them. And the sister who knows Shanquella so well, she confirms that Shanquella sleeps naked. So now we can add that to our theory that she possibly woke up because a lot of people noticed that Shanquella was not truly fully conscious of what was going on. You can tell she wasn't really responsive. She was slow in her movements and, still trying to figure out what is going on. You know what I mean? Like when you're woke out of deep sleep like that. And it's just sad and so painful for the sister to say she had to see her sister standing. Her sister was naked standing there. And if you heard the other interview from the father, the tape was released. This tape was first released to NC Beat, and NC Beat went to the father, Bernard, and asked the father, is it okay if I release this? Because, she was naked in the video. And the father said, go ahead and release it. And you imagine how much strength it took for him to do that. But he wanted the world to know what happened to his daughter. This story reminds me a lot of Emmett Till. If you guys remember that story, Emmett Till with a mother, when she saw her son, and she during the funeral, she told them to do an open casket, even though he was completely mutilated. But it's the sacrifice that this parent had to make to show the world of how people that you may think care about you doesn't really care about you. This poor young girl, Shanquella, was 5'1" and only 100 pounds, tiny little thing. And Dejanay knew Shanquella could not overpower her in any way. So she was a bully. She had no mercy on this young lady. So why should the legal system have any mercy on her? And it's sad, the sister says, that image of her didn't sit well with me. That is so sad. This paragraph right here, I had to take my time on it. And I do like to take my time and dissect stuff, because this right here, it really exposed a lot of the pain that this poor sister is dealing with. Not just the sister, but all of them, This is sad. Oh my God, here's another pop-up. Baja California Sur Prosecutor Office has since announced that an arrest warrant has been issued for femicide. A representative of the office, who was not authorized to discuss details, told Essence that femicide involves a killing where there is a relationship between the people, including friends or spouses. So that is just a different type of crime. Let's see, what is this?
A loved one in the heinous way in which has happened. Losing a loved one in the heinous way in which has happened to Shanquella, there probably will never be peace for them. But there cannot just be an unopened situation. It has to be closed with truth, and it has to be that there is accountability for those who are responsible for her death.
Shanquella's sister told Essence that she was outgoing, well-spoken, had ambition, intelligent, business-driven, lovable, respectful, and beautiful inside and out. Wow, that sentence really gave us a broad scope of who Shanquella was. She was truly a light that lit the entire room. I only seen a couple of videos of her that on the 28th, October 28th, the ones that we saw. And you just looking at those videos of her as she was looking for them in the villa, as she was eating dinner with them while she was being rejected, you could see the light just exude from her in each one of those different clips. Even when she was making jokes about them when they were playing the game, she always was that one that outshined all of the other people there, which demonstrates why insecure, in my opinion, low vibrational Dejanay was, because she couldn't stand to see this woman outshine her. And she kept venting and venting and complaining, in my opinion, to the others. And the others, because they want to follow the crowd, just went along with it. That's my opinion. I could be totally wrong. I'm giving my opinion. And I'm entitled to my own opinion. It's just based on what I've seen. So sad, y'all. So sad. Let's get back to the next part. So, according to a statement that the prosecutor's office released on Facebook last Thursday, the next steps are the national authorities, including Mexico's Attorney General and Minister of Foreign Affairs, are to carry out the extradition process, which we went over yesterday. It's a pretty tedious process where they would send their request to the Department of Justice, who would then evaluate it, and then they would send a complaint to the magistrate, the judge where these individuals reside, or where the particular person who is on the arrest warrant resides, or for the extradition resides. And then that magistrate will then send out an arrest warrant, and that arrest warrant will be used to execute for the law enforcement to go out and execute that arrest warrant, find the person. And there's a long other process after that we talked about. So it involves using U.S. delivering the suspect to the Mexican authorities after they go through that tedious process that we talked about yesterday. The state government of Baja California Sur will also continue with their investigation. The legal advocate of the family, Sue Ann Robinson, she's not related to them, but she's a legal advocate. Her law partner, civil rights attorneys Ben Crump is actually on this case, and activist Tamika Mallory have worked alongside the family to compel legal action. As Robinson told Essence, we've been working to make sure that adequate pressure is put on authorities so that a proper so that a proper investigation is done in this case, because obviously people that are involved are concealing aspects of it. There has been a lot of just immoral conduct in this case, a lot of falsities, cover-ups. It's very, very sad, and it makes people afraid or skeptical to go to travel to Mexico because they're concerned of their welfare there. I mean, around the same exact time frame, 3 other Black individuals died in Mexico at an Airbnb because of carbon monoxide. It's a scary time for Americans because they're like, well, if this is going to happen and we have to deal with something like this, we don't want to go there because we don't know if our welfare is okay when we go. And look what this family has to deal with. A lot of concealing aspects of this case. A lot of times people first foray into our legal system is when they're a victim of violent crime or family members are a victim of violent crime. They don't know what to do. Fortunately or unfortunately, as a criminal defense attorney, I know the terrain very well. And I try to just guide the family on what to expect, what to do. Robinson also hints at the racial implications of some cases. We're aware that the only way to get these cases to move and to get the system to work is that we have to march. We have to rally. We have to cause the conversation to be had so cases can be amplified. There can be transparency, and there can be transparency in the process. Tequila Long states that she is going to miss the little things about her sister. Oh, that is so sad. People don't realize how painful this is. To see the pain in the mother's eyes and the father's eyes, this is taking a toll. And the fact that these Cabo Six, they don't care. They only care about themselves. One of the lessons we can learn from this story is that people really only care about themselves. At the end of the day, they only care about themselves or their family. That's it. That is it. And if you go on these long trips, it's safe for you to get your own hotel. I know you may think you may be close with these people you're going on a trip with, unless they're your family sometimes. I mean, even sometimes family can betray you. So that's kind of hard to even say, right? I would say if you're going on a far trip, just get you a hotel because you never know what can happen. The very people that you think are your friends could easily betray you. There was a lady on YouTube was talking about her tragic story when she went on a trip with her friends because she was, identifying with Shanquella. And one of the things she said was that when she went on a trip with her friends and she got a villa with them or whatever, they ended up trying to fight her in the villa. And so she was afraid to go to sleep because she was like, I don't know what they're going to do to me, after we just had this argument. So after that, going forward, she started getting her own, places. She booked her own hotels or whatever. And she also shared another story of where she went with her friends to an event. They went out of the country together. And she ended up getting really drunk. And none of her friends looked out for her. None of them. They let somebody steal all her money, steal her wallet, steal her phone. So by the time she sobered up, she didn't have any of her stuff. So that just tells you there's many people out there who have stories of friends that betray, And now Tequila Long has to miss the little things about her sister. The conversations, the text messages, how we respond to each other when she calls. That's what I'm missing now, is what Tequila said. Robinson Long shares she said Robinson was outgoing, well-spoken. She had ambition, and she did. We saw it. We saw it on her Facebook, how she was an entrepreneur, how she was a go-getter. She was always advertising for her business, and she was a woman of excellence. You could see the things that she presented of her business online was very professionally done. To be 25 years old, to have all of that was just amazing. So outgoing, well-spoken, she had ambition, and she was intelligent. She was business-driven, lovable, respectful, and beautiful inside and out. And Shanquella always, she knew what she wanted to do. This woman was already focused on what she wanted to do, because when she was in college, she majored in business. So she already had a vision of herself being an entrepreneur before she graduated. That is a woman that is ambitious, that's intelligent, that's business driven, exactly like her sister said, lovable, respectful, and beautiful inside and out. And I can say I didn't know Shanquella, but just from watching her videos, I can tell that she was all of these descriptions. You could see it from just her social media and those videos that she was all of that. Everything that Tequila said about her sister. And that's pretty amazing that you can literally look at someone's videos and you can see the very descriptors of what her family members say. That's amazing. Really amazing. Because I feel she was all those things. And very lovable. She was very lovable to those people who weren't lovable to her. Always had this big heart based upon her Facebook. Y'all got to watch that video I did. We broke it down. But based upon her Facebook, she had this huge heart. And even though people would betray her, she'd always want to keep giving back to these people all the time. Long hopes that all those on the trip are shipped back to Mexico. I want to see them over there doing time, away from their family, trying to learn Spanish. That's where I want them at. Well, she's not playing. She said away from their family and trying to learn Spanish. And it's true. That's where they should be. This is, man. I understand that they all should be charged for the applicable crimes that they committed. So, of course, not all of them are going to be charged with murder. And, some will be charged with accomplice or obstruction of justice, depending on how Mexico laws are. But like Tequila says, we want to see them all back there and be charged with the applicable crimes. So I pray she gets what she asked for. Sorry, guys, I told y'all on my other videos that I am pretty long-winded, so I do take my time to dissect these. So that's just kind of how I operate. Now let's just talk about how the mother is dealing with this, because we saw that Tequila is very broken. You can tell from that article that her soul is literally ripped from out of her. She's in deep anguish. And just imagine, if I were her, I wouldn't even want to look at what's on YouTube or on the blogs, because there's just too much lies out there everywhere. It's like it could just drive them down a hole of depression and just all kinds of agony because of all the lies just floating out there. But let's talk about Salamandra, because Salamandra is also having a very difficult time with this. I want to show you guys two different, I'm going to show you a video clip of her speaking, because in this video, you can see where her soul is literally drained from out of her. She looks soulless because of the pain she's been dealing with and the mental anguish and that this case has caused her, and the long waiting period. Had this crime happened in America, those people would have been arrested and investigated already. But because it happened in Mexico, the extradition process is long and it's drawn out, and there's so many different pieces that come into play when it comes to extraditing an American back to another country, a foreign country. It's a lot because they want justice now, just like all of us, but we have to wait patiently for the process to go forward. And it is literally has sucked the life out of the people that love Shanquella so much. So let's take a look at that.
Or as to what actually happened to your daughter by her so-called friends. Yes.
Yes.
So when they got back from the trip with her luggage, what did they tell you happened to your daughter?
That she got sick from drinking. It was alcohol.
That she got sick from drinking. It was alcohol.
So that.
So look at Salamandra's face. I just want to analyze. Let's just analyze, because that's the only way we can really see what's really going on. If you look at some of Salamandra's interviews, her earlier interviews, her demeanor is completely different than how you see her in this video right here. And I just had to share this one because you can see the transitioning of this woman breaking down more and more and more, because in the prior interviews we've seen, yes, she was broken, but she was in a state of shock at this point. It was like a state of denial still. So it was unreal, but it was still, you can feel the pain and the grief, right? You're like, you can still feel it, but it's still, you're in that beginning stage of grief. But here you can see a different demeanor in this video. Look at her eyes, look at her face. This to me, in my opinion, is a demonstration of her seeing reality, that her daughter is gone and she is in a state of complete, total depression and anguish. And it is the saddest thing to see as you watch this, because you can tell it's like she's literally she just push out the words. It's like she doesn't want to keep doing these interviews, but she has to fight for her daughter. But you can tell as she's speaking, it's as if she's fighting to push these words out because the pain is unbearable for her.
That was their initial story. So there were several. And how many friends went with her? Was it 3, 4, 5? How many total folks were in this party?
It was 7.
It was 7.
Seven, including your daughter. And so they get back, they tell you it's alcohol poisoning, but then the autopsy, it tells a totally different story.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, were the friends in contact with you and the family all throughout? And when the autopsy report was released, is that when they went radio silent?
Yes, they did.
Yes, they did.
And their reference as her friends, how long?
Can anyone see that? The pain that this woman is going through? It is like she's not giving Roland any more than what he asked her. It's like at the beginning, it's like she, was her demeanor was different, but because of all the pain that this has really brought this beautiful mother to lose her beautiful, happy young daughter who was the light of her world, you could see like she doesn't want to be there, but she has to keep going and fight for her daughter. This is so painful to watch.
How long did she know the individuals who she traveled there with?
From 5 to 7 years. She went to college.
From 5 to 7.
They went to college together.
Yes.
Yes.
I read several stories where you said that these folks often were at your home. You knew them, and these were people who were close with your daughter.
No, I didn't know anyone but Khalil Cook. The other ones, I did not know them. All I know that she went to school with them. Khalil Cook used to come to our house and go on family trips with us. He's supposed to be her best friend.
There are some key things I noticed about this statement here. The first thing I can acknowledge is that as a child gets older, you're not going to know all their different friends. But I still thought her statement was very monumental in the fact that she said she didn't know the others, but she knew of Khalil. That told me, in my opinion, that Khalil was someone very close to her, because usually if someone's close to you, you're going to bring that person around your family. And it also clued me in that those other individuals weren't really close to her because they weren't significant enough to her to bring around her family. So that was another clue. There's so many different pieces of observations out there that we've went over in the prior videos, from the photos to the trips that they took, from the childhood photos dating back to 2012, to all demonstrate that the Cabo Six, well, I would say minus Khalil at the time, the 5 individuals weren't really that close to Shanquella. They were acquaintances. They were not friends. In my opinion, they were acquaintances. They were people that she knew of through Khalil. Khalil was the person that she became friends with in college. Khalil was the one that she brought around the family. And that's why Salamandra didn't know about them. That's very important. Key thing to listen to when you hear the parents and you hear the sister. They don't reference the other individuals. These are all very significant things that a lot of people don't point out, but it's very important to notice. They always reference Khalil because Khalil was the person that Shanquella was close to in that group. The Judas. The other ones were just acquaintances.
And so that's one of the gentlemen. You said he went on family trips. And when was the last time you heard from him?
I haven't heard from him since the autopsy came back. And that's been about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago when the autopsy first came back. And I haven't heard from him since.
Did you know that honey is a great ingredient?
There was a couple of monumental things that I didn't really talk about. And now the first thing is Salamandra did a subliminal shot at Khalil when she said, supposed to be her best friend. She was like, you were supposed to be, but in reality, you were a snake. You were supposed to be. And then you can also see the consciousness of guilt from Khalil, because after the autopsy comes back, all of a sudden he bails out and he's gone. But then you still look at the demeanor of Salamandra as she's speaking. You can tell that her soul is literally gone, and she is just literally having to force out these words because you can't see any emotion on her face, because that's how much pain she is. All cried out. That's the vibe I get. It is as if this beautiful woman has cried all the tears that she has inside of her. And now she's so broken, but has to keep fighting on behalf of her daughter. It's so sad. We're going to keep playing after this ad, guys, but just hang tight.
For helping your hair grow and stay moist.
When the prosecutors announced the arrest warrant, did they reach out to you to inform you of this beforehand?
Yes, they did, but they never told me who was being arrested. And they also haven't said that they have arrested anyone yet.
You also have the FBI there in Charlotte. They're involved. And what's the latest that they have informed you in terms of their role in this case?
Well, they're not telling a lot. They don't want anything to get out. You know, they just keeping everything confidential. So they have not told me anything else.
We've seen a number of different stories, again, folks talking about this case and your daughter. And you've credited Black Twitter with actually making this possible in terms of the focus, because frankly, mainstream media has completely ignored this story, and it's certainly not gotten the attention of other people who have been involved in cases like this here, folks who come up missing, who have died overseas.
Yes, that's so true.
Can you see how her responses are very short and to the point? That's not the Salamandra that we've seen on other interviews. This is so sad, because you can literally see a woman's broken soul on the camera. On the camera. It is like literally trying to pull the words, pry the words from out of her. That is how broken this case. And the reason why I'm taking the time to dissect it is because people need to know the gravity of pain this family is dealing with. Sometimes when you're not in the position of that person, you can't understand and you can't have the empathy that is truly needed in this case to be delicate with it, because there's so many lies going around. Everybody's so focused, a lot of, who are in the blogger world, on themselves and not stopping to look at the pain that this poor, beautiful mother has to deal with. And it's even worse because she has to try to navigate something that happened in a whole other country. It's bad enough to lose your kid in the US where you reside. That's bad enough. But now you have to figure out, you got to wait patiently on the FBI, who's not telling you anything, because they have, to keep their whole confidentiality in the whole situation. And you're not getting any answers. And it's been over a month and still nothing. And the extradition process is very long. And you can already see how the Mexican prosecutor is moving. He's moving one person at a time. So who knows how long this is going to go on for. And as you can see with extraditing this one person, imagine how long it's going to take when they start thinking about extraditing the next person, and then the next person, and then the next person. This is a lot. But I want you to just take time to really look at, and not just listen to the words that's coming out of this woman's mouth. Look at her demeanor. Look at how she's answering. Look at her eyes. This woman is all cried out. Nobody knows how many hours, how many days that she has sat and cried and cried and cried and can't get any answers from anyone. And she's got all these people online spewing all these lies, and got all these bloggers coming to interview her and asking her about all these different lies, and she has to refute them all. Imagine how exhausting that can be.
What would you like for folks to know about your daughter that folks don't know? Of course, people know her as a result of this here. But who was she? What was she going to college for? And what would you want folks to know about her?
She was a good person. She had a good heart. She loved everybody. She loved life, and she went to college for business. And she just had a heart of gold. And I know that there's nothing that she could have done to anyone to make them do her like that.
So this is a story that we really need to study, because one of the key words she said is that she was just humble and loving and a businesswoman, and she did nothing to make anyone do her like that. We don't have to do anything to anyone. You could be your own beautiful self and shine bright as God created you to shine. But there could be some evil person lurking out there, jealous of the light that God has given you. And I know Gerald was saying, oh, you don't know if it's jealousy or not. It's an opinion. Everyone has a right to an opinion. And I have a right to look at this and analyze the information that is out there and give my own opinion. It doesn't mean it's a fact. It means it is my personal opinion, which I am freely entitled to have. And in my opinion, because I've been there seeing women just like Dejanay, it's easy to read it. It's easy to read it off the screen. You can literally see the energy on those videos. And if you can't see it, that's not my problem. That's my opinion, though, and I have a right to have an opinion. So let's look at another article, guys, because there is an article that was released today from the New York Post, where the mother is now, again, demonstrating to you the exhaustion of this case. There's a frustration now that I believe that has also been contributed to the lies that have been said. And it is a lie, guys, about this whole arrest thing. Oh my goodness. I can't imagine what Miss Salamandra had to go through when she heard this article being spread around everywhere about an arrest, because that's all she wanted, and to find out it's a lie. It's like, it's as if you give somebody something, that they always wanted, and then you rip it from them. That's how traumatizing it is. And so this article was released today. This article was released today from the New York Post. Let's take a look at it. So from the New York Post, this was released December 2nd, 2022 at 9:08 a.m. Says, mom of slain tourist Shanquella Robinson blasts FBI for lack of progress. It's been over a month since Shanquella's passed away. And we know that these type of cases and investigations do take a long time. That's just generally speaking in America. But now you have to add on the extradition process, an extra layer, which does make the process longer. This mother wants justice for her child, and she's all cried out, but the process is longer. It does take some time, and the FBI has to be quiet and keep, quiet about their investigation of it. So when you have someone like Gerardo going around spewing something that was not verified, was not confirmed that there is an arrest, and he doesn't even take the time to retract it or anything, now it only amplifies this mother's anguish, because she's thinking, well, then this should have been done. There should be an arrest. Look, there's this article out here saying that there's an arrest, and there's not. And so now it creates more frustration for this mother. You can see just on this picture the pain. Now it's to the point like she's blasting the FBI because they're not communicating with her. But to the layman's person, when you're missing your child and you want justice, you don't care about confidentiality or that the FBI is, silent about it. You don't care about that. You want to know something now. But I can only imagine. I think that whole lie about the arrest made this thing even more emotionally taxing for her, in my opinion. It's caused a lot of frustration and her being in the dark, because it was bad enough that they lied at first, talking about the alcohol poisoning and it being accidental. But now add the layer of, understandably enough, I know the FBI cannot say anything because they will compromise the case, but you got this article out there saying that there's an arrest. And so she's thinking in her mind that, so the FBI, because basically this guy went on platforms talking about he knows it's from the FBI and all that. So she's thinking in her mind, you're going to tell this foreign newspaper about an arrest, but you can't tell me, the mother who is the victim. So what do you think that it is? Like you're communicating to a news outlet. Of course, we know now that news outlet was not credible, but this is the effect of lies being spewed, because now it's creating in the mind of this beautiful, lovely mother here that the officials are communicating with this outlet, but can't even communicate with the direct person who is the victim, Salamandra's family. Because just notice the timing, that after that whole lie was released, now December 2nd, mom of slain tourist Shanquella Robinson blasts FBI for lack of progress. Salamandra Robinson, the mother of slain North Carolina woman Shanquella Robinson, is frustrated about the lack of information the family has gotten about the death in Mexico. And this makes a lot of sense, in my opinion, to me, because there had been a lot of people interviewing them recently after this lie was said on November 28th about an arrest. And they were interviewing them and they were saying, do you know about the arrest of Dejanay? And both Salamandra and Mr. Bernard were confused because they were like, no, I haven't heard about an arrest. So of course they would be frustrated because they're like, well, how come everybody knows about this arrest but me? I should be the first one to know, right? But that's what happens when a lie is spewed and not retracted in a timely manner and corrected. And that lie to this day has never been corrected by the originator. He never came back and said, oh, I made a mistake. So look, what do you think? There's still the confusion floating around in, online. And so now you have this beautiful mother here and the father and the sister who are all frustrated because they're like, well, how come we're not getting this information? Lack of information, all because, in my opinion, the lie. I can't say that for a fact because I don't really know, but I'm just looking at what's out there and thinking, in my opinion, that could also cause more frustration for this mother. I know it would for me, because it's like, well, how come all these other people know about this and I don't? I should be the first to know. And that's under the law, because there is a Marsy's law where victims should be notified first. But this is what happens when a lie, gets released and there's no retraction. Still no retraction, no correction at all. The mom of the U.S. tourist who mysteriously died at a Mexican resort complained that the FBI is not telling her anything about the case, as the family anxiously awaits justice to be served. That means they have lost all patience. There's no more patience left. They're like, you need to do it now. But you guys already know we went over the extradition process yesterday and how long it is. And it's not something that happens, swiftly. It takes time. But because you got people out here spewing all these lies, it only makes the victims involved more aggravated because they think they're not getting the information, yet these news outlets are getting the information before they are getting it, which would be all wrong because they should be getting the communication first, in my opinion. She said, I'm just trying to wait for somebody to be arrested. The FBI is not telling anything, Shanquella Robinson's mother, Salamandra, told the UK's Independent on Thursday, more than a month after her daughter died of the swanky Fundadores Beach Club in San Jose del Cabo. Mexican prosecutors issued an arrest warrant last week for a suspect in the 25-year-old's death, which was determined to be from a direct attack. But the suspect's name has not been released, and it's unclear whether any arrests have been made. The FBI told the outlet that an investigation is ongoing, but did not confirm whether any arrests or extraditions have been made. So you hear that? It says the FBI has said that an investigation is ongoing, but did not confirm whether any arrests or extraditions have been made. Now, they can be discreet and not mention that stuff, but if an arrest has been made, you can look that up. You can look up, their information online. But there's nothing you can find online at all. Okay, period. Robinson's death on October 29th was originally thought to be alcohol poisoning, but a death certificate revealed she had suffered a severe spinal cord injury, an atlas luxation, and instability of the neck vertebrae. And here's our beloved Shanquella, a woman of class, style, and all that. She had it all going on. Shanquella Robinson's death was initially said to be from alcohol poisoning, but is now being investigated as a crime. Shanquella died on October 29th at a luxury resort in Mexico where she went with friends. Robinson said the group of friends that accompanied Shanquella on the trip initially told the family that their daughter suffered alcohol poisoning, but a viral video later emerged of Shanquella being savagely beaten at the luxury rental villa by one of the women in the group. Local authorities later described the death as a femicide, the term used in the killing of a woman based upon her gender. And here's the death certificate that we saw before, that here it shows that the approximate time between the injury and death would have been 15 minutes. That means they're saying the severe spinal cord injury and atlas luxation, that type of injury, you can only last for about 15 minutes after that type of injury. And again, we talked about the time of death. That is an approximation. There's no guarantee that I was correct based upon some of the lies that were said. Person found unconscious on her living room. Interesting. Remember how she was injured in the room, and we talked about how she was moved into the living room by the doctor to administer the CPR. That was what the allegations were. And this was certified by the doctor, and the doctor who did this autopsy was Renee A. Galvin Asegura. I cannot say that name. Asegura. That's the doctor's name. You even have her license here, her address, everything. And she signed this death certificate November 4th, 2022. Just want to have all those details there of who did this autopsy, who signed. Deputy Attorney General Antonio Lopez Rodriguez said investigators believe Shanquella's death was the result of injuries inflicted by one of the travel companions. Salamandra said some of the people who were on the trip have visited the family. These people looked me in the face and told me there was no fight in Cabo, she told the paper, adding that they claimed Shanquella died of alcohol poisoning. And we already saw this tragedy here of how she was beaten. I think in that video that we saw with Dejanay, I really believe that was the moment in time when she sustained her injuries. You can see where Dejanay grabbed her by the neck and swung her around with such force. And Shanquella's back hits the bed, the side of the bedboard. That could have demonstrated where her back broke right there, because the force of that swing was enough, in my opinion, to cause those injuries. In my opinion, I'm just giving my opinion. I feel like we saw the injury on that video. Y'all can give y'all opinion what you think, but that's my opinion. When the autopsy report was later released, some of the friends went to the family's home again, according to the newspaper. What did you do? What did you all do to my child? Salamandra asked the visitors. One of them, she claims, broke into a sweat and left, and that was Khalil. Khalil was the one that was sweating and fidgety and walking back and forth like he was on drugs because he knew he was lying. His whole behavior showed a man of guilt, in my opinion. And now she's saying they're on the run, the grieving mother told the Washington Post. Shanquella's father, Bernard Robinson, also spoke to the Washington Post about his frustration. There's a whole lot of unanswered questions in my mind about her death, he told the paper tearfully. Man, it's like, oh my God, this is so painful because it's as if we're living through the pain with them. Through each interview we hear, because they have no choice but to keep going and keep speaking and doing these interviews, because that's the only way they're going to keep this alive. If they stop speaking, then this case goes cold. So they have to show the world their vulnerability. They have to show the world their pain every time they do these interviews. And this has got to be taxing on them. He said, I just want justice for my daughter, he said, adding that he has been a wreck since receiving news about her death. Bernard also revealed that he found out about the graphic video while he was looking for a grave site. Wow. That is wow. This right here, he found out about the graphic video while he was looking for a grave site. I can't imagine. I cannot imagine. I had to take a break right there. That is a lot. Wow. As he's looking for a gravesite, he gets this horrific video of his daughter and how she died. That's sad. He said it broke me to the heart. he said about the final moments of his daughter, who ran 2 businesses, Exquisite Babies, where she braided kids' hair, and the Exquisite Boutique, where she sold clothes. The FBI told the Washington Post that it has been involved in the probe since the beginning. And I'm going to talk a little bit about whether the U.S., after this article, can actually prosecute in this case too, because there is no guarantee that Shanquella gets extradited. We won't know until we hear the announcement, because the U.S. can easily prosecute this case. We'll talk about that. We're going to get some answers about that. They say we can't give a timeline for ongoing cases, but this case is complicated. And it is, because I told you how complicated it was. If you haven't watched my video regarding the extradition process, take some time to watch that, because we really go through how complicated it is for extraditions. And there's really no guarantee that a U.S. citizen even gets extradited, because the final person that determines that is the Secretary of State, after the judge rules upon and makes their decision of the evidence. So it's like the FBI is saying that it is complicated. He said, because there are officials from another country involved. Spokesperson Shelley Lynch said, and Shelley Lynch is a part of the FBI. You can look her name up in her email and everything. The State Department said it's monitoring the probe, adding that when American citizens die in foreign countries, local authorities are responsible for determining the cause of death. So you see that? It said, the State Department said it's monitoring the probe, but they said when American citizens die in a foreign country, local authorities are responsible for determining common death. Okay. And based upon a prior interview from the father, the father was saying in that interview with Gerald Jackson that allegedly there was going to be another autopsy done by the FBI. And that was before they buried her, before they had the funeral. So they are doing their part too to figure out what the cause of death is. Also, they're not just taking the Mexican authorities' word for it. They may find something else. They might find another extra injury in there. We don't know, because they're not going to release that information to us at this time. The Post has also reached out to the FBI for comment. Let's see if this is all done. Okay, this is all done, guys. So you can just see the taxing weight that this has had on Tequila Long, on Salamandra, and on the father. I did another video about the father. I'm not going to do it again here, but you can watch that video. But it's taxing on all of them. Now, some of you guys may be asking, can the U.S. prosecute this case? Or is it just Mexico? Can the U.S. prosecute the case of Shanquella Robinson? And the answer is yes. Yes, they can. And, you know, I thought that this news station did a great job of talking about this. So I was like, you know what, let me go ahead and read this, because they did an amazing job breaking it down. So we're going to read their article, because they did a great job really summarizing the whole process and simplifying it for everybody. So let's take a look at this article here from Charlotte, North Carolina. This is one of our favorite stations out there in Charlotte, WCNC. We've been talking about this station for a long time, or at least the last few videos we did on them. So they've been doing pretty well. But they said days after authorities in Mexico issue a warrant in the death investigation of Shanquella Robinson, the 25-year-old Charlotte, who mysteriously died on vacation with a group of friends, many people are wondering whether authorities can intervene and prosecute. If the crime happened in a different country, can the U.S. prosecute the case? And the answer is yes. They said it is possible for the US to prosecute a case that happened in another country, but only if it involves American citizens. And so far, yes, it does. An American citizen killed another American citizen. So the United States Code of Federal Regulations, the United States Code of Federal Regulations, that is the source that you can look up, states if a person being a national of the United States kills or attempts to kill a national of the United States while such a national is outside the United States, but within the jurisdiction of another country, shall be punished. This statute expressly empowers our federal government to prosecute American citizens that have been involved in the murder of another American citizen, Monty said, by simply looking at the statute. So WCNC Charlotte can verify that, yes, it's possible for the U.S. to prosecute even if the crime happened outside the country, but only if it's a crime involving Americans. Well, we know that part is satisfied. So far we're good to go, but there's still a lot more to go. So we'll get back into that. They said, however, there are some hoops to jump through. There has to be a written approval by the United States Attorney General. So that's a source you can reach out to. You can reach out to the Attorney General if you want the case prosecuted here. You don't feel confident in the Mexican authorities or Mexican officials to really litigate this case. We need a lot of numbers to flood the United States Attorney General. Okay. And it has to be looked at and improved by, remember, we talked about these people, the Department of Justice. That's another department you want to flood and talk to. Flood them with messages. Remember, we talked about the Department of Justice and their pivotal role in this whole thing, because the Mexican officials have to send their extradition request to, remember, the Department of Justice. If any of you watched the extradition video, we know all about the Department of Justice if you watch that. So these are the two entities you need to talk to: United States Attorney General and the Department of Justice, because the approval has to be by both of them. It has to be approved by the United States Attorney General, and it has to be looked at and approved by the Department of Justice. Those two entities together. Those are second steps. That's the first hoop. The second hoop, according to Monty, is that the U.S. can't prosecute a crime if the same charge has already been adjudicated in the country that has jurisdiction. So it hasn't been adjudicated yet in Mexico. So right now we have a chance to get the U.S. to litigate it. So that could be the reason also why it's taking a while. What if they're already trying to determine whether they want to litigate this case in the U.S.? They are looking at the pieces of evidence that the Mexican officials have given them. And they've also, they're doing their own investigation. According to the father on that interview we saw a couple of weeks ago, the father said that there was an autopsy done before the funeral by the FBI. So they might be looking into this, and who knows what's going on behind the walls of justice, meaning they could be talking to the Department of Justice, the U.S. Attorney General, to see, hey, do we want to litigate this case here, or do we want to extradite these people? They might be trying to figure out what's the most efficient way to give justice in this case. And that is why it's taking a while. But it could be very frustrating for a family, which I understand. And it also could be fearful for us, because we're all probably thinking, man, I don't want to go to Mexico or these other places, because what if something happens to me or my family? And now you're stuck in this limbo, because that's what it is. It's like a limbo. Does the U.S. want to prosecute it, or do they want to give it to the Mexican officials? It's kind of where we're at right now. We talked about that. So, however, the U.S. could prosecute for other crimes associated with the main offense. So even though, let's say, for example, Dejanay gets extradited back to Mexico and she's prosecuted and she serves 20 years in jail. Let's just say that. And then she comes back to America. Well, if the U.S. found other crimes that she committed in the U.S. related to this case, like, for example, they sat down and planned the murder before they left to Mexico, if they did something like that, then they can go ahead and charge her again. So she can go back and have to get charged again if it was for different crimes. It can't be the same exact crime. So they can't, if she gets prosecuted for murder, for example, or she's getting charged with femicide, but that's another thing. If she's getting charged with femicide, then would the U.S. argue femicide is different than homicide? No, they probably wouldn't do that. They probably wouldn't do that. They can't do that. That's double jeopardy. But they, you know, they could try to charge her with other things if they find any other proof that they committed anything else. For example, lying to the officials. We already know, based on the scavenger hunt, if you guys watched my video yesterday, we have a news reporter that's going on a scavenger hunt looking for the Cabo Six. And he's been putting business cards on their doors and stuff like that, and hasn't been able to find them. But when he went to one door, he saw a business card from law enforcement. So that can give us an indicator that the law enforcement is out there looking for the Cabo Six. So we are in a limbo right now because the U.S. can't prosecute this case. If they so choose to do so, there's, like we talked about there, but there's 3 elements that has to be satisfied. First element is it has to be approved by the Attorney General, the U.S. Attorney General. The second element is it has to be reviewed and approved by the Department of Justice. After it satisfies those hurdles, they have to determine whether it's been litigated already. And it hasn't. That one has already been satisfied because right now we already know Mexico has not prosecuted this case yet. All they did was just submit a request to have this particular person extradited to Mexico. So as it stands right now, anything could happen under the sun. Anything. We don't even know if the U.S. is going to make a decision, if the U.S. Attorney General and the Department of Justice have agreed that this case will stay here, or, you know, it follows that whole long process of extradition, gets to the Secretary of State, and the Secretary of State ultimately decides they don't want to send them back to Mexico. We don't know. We don't know. And I feel so much empathy for the family because they're in the middle of this and they have to wait. It's like a waiting game for them because they don't know what's going to happen. It's a very, very, very sad, sad, sad position to be in. See what you guys have to say before we get into the next topic. They say they can prosecute them if they plan anything in states, though, right? Yes, love, we talked about that in the article, that even if Mexico prosecutes them and then they come back from finishing their sentence, if they committed any other crimes in the U.S., they could still prosecute them. There was a case just like this, actually. There was this girl, I don't know if you guys heard about this criminal case. This girl, she had a boyfriend and her mother did not want her to date this boy, but the girl being delinquent, she still went out and dated the boy, right? So the mother tried to get rid of this boy and try to get her daughter away from him. So she takes her daughter on this trip. I forgot what country they were in, guys. You guys can tell me in the chat if you know the story I'm talking about. But the girl goes behind the mother's back, uses the mother's credit card, pays for her boyfriend to go on this trip. And they have text messages of them planning to kill her mother on this trip in this country. So the boyfriend gets there. They brutally beat to death this poor woman. I mean, the woman died a horrible death. The girl, she ends up spending prison in this foreign country. She spent time in prison. She gets a short sentence in that prison. And her prison time in that country was just like a walk in the park. She got to take care of her baby in there, smoke, do all kinds of stuff. She was doing social media in her jail. She had the time of her life in that jail, the time of her life. Well, she comes back to America and America says, surprise, we're going to charge you for conspiracy. So she is going to be facing charges. I don't know all the charges she's facing in the U.S., but she's facing charges once again for other crimes. Like I was talking about, we talked about in that article. So she still has to face charges because remember we talked about, yes, if American kills another American in another country, they can be prosecuted in the US. The US can decide to not extradite and prosecute them here, or they can just let the other country prosecute them. And then when they come back to the US, prosecute them for other crimes. So you guys, there's going to be justice, but it's going to be long. It's just, I feel empathy for the parents because they're going through the pain of having to wait without knowing answers. And there's so many different bodies of government involved. And there's all this confidentiality because they can't, discuss it right now. So it could be emotionally taxing on the parents because not only are they in this horrible position of having to wait without answers, but then they're hearing all these lies that are being communicated online. And it's got to be traumatizing for them. And that's why I wanted to take you through those articles. I'm so sorry that I'm just going to warn you guys that I'm redundant and I'm wordy and I like to really break down things because I feel it's important to really get a full picture of what they're going through, because once you understand it, you can understand the gravity of pain they're going through and then tread more lightly when you're supporting some of these people out here who are spewing the lies, to at least tell them, hey, please, for the sake of these parents, we know the gravity because we literally studied even their very feelings to know that this is painful. And we need to, if this is something that's not true that you're saying, you could at least stand up and apologize and care about the people that are involved more than yourself. That's why we do these things. The U.S. can prosecute before, yep, that's what I said. Yep, I already mentioned that. The U.S. can prosecute before Mexico as well, especially if evidence shows they conspired to kill her. Yep, we already mentioned that in the article that the U.S. can choose to prosecute this case, and they can choose to not extradite the Cabo Six. They can choose to prosecute them here, which is why the FBI is heavily involved and has already did their own autopsy, because they might just ultimately, the government officials here might just decide that they want to prosecute. So those that are believers, I would just say wait and pray for the family and pray for the officials that are involved in the decision making to make the right decision. In my opinion, I'm just going to give my opinion. I hope and pray that the government officials that are involved and the one that has the final say, which is the Secretary of State, I hope that they make the decision to prosecute the case here. I feel like we can get maximum justice here. With the whole extradition thing, it just feels like it's going to take forever because they're going to extradite one person back and they're going to have to figure that out. And then we're going to have to wait another grueling amount of time for the next person that they decide to extradite. It's just like, it seems to be, it would be more efficient if they decide to prosecute these individuals here in the US. That is just my opinion. So I'm going to be having that in my prayer time, to be praying for that in particular. And, I would say we can really have an impact because I know the father's request to us was he wanted us to speak to the Mexican officials to push them to hurry up and stuff. But I think what's really important is we have to know all the people involved. We need to be talking to the Department of Justice, the Attorney General, remember, because those are the two entities that decide whether they want to litigate this case here. Is, remember, the Attorney General and the Department of Justice. So those are where we should be focusing our communications on, to say, hey, please prosecute this case here. This young lady needs justice. We want the maximum amount of justice, and we want it to be expeditious. We understand that it won't be expeditious. We get it. It takes time. Everybody knows that the legal system takes time. So it's not going to happen overnight. But for the sake of efficiency, because we can just obliterate the whole long, tedious extradition process if the two deciding entities, our Attorney General and our Department of Justice, just decides, you know what, we're going to go ahead and just prosecute it here. It takes that whole big process, the chunk that we've been talking about, it takes it out of the equation. That is just my opinion. Y'all can tell me what you guys think, but that's just what I think. Lonnie Ray said, let them go in Mexico and stay in Mexico. Girl, well, then if that's what you want, we're going to have to wait the extradition process, and it's going to be long and tedious. And I don't want to hear anybody in the chat complaining, saying, why are they taking too long? Y'all got to go back to that video and read about what extradition is and how long it is. And it's kind of like they have a trial here. It's analogous because they have a limited hearing here, and the judge has to look at the evidence to see if there is sufficient evidence to sustain a criminal charge. Here, they have to litigate that here in America before the judge decides that there's enough evidence, and then they send that off. They send the judge's ruling to the Secretary of State, and then the Secretary of State will decide. Even if the judge said, I think there's enough evidence, the Secretary of State will just say, no, I don't want to extradite. So you just got to understand, Lonnie, girl. Yep. If you want them to go to Mexico, just got to be patient and pray for the family for strength, because it's going to be long, girl. It's going to be long and tedious. Long and tedious. Let's see. Yeah, that girl is scary. She is, Ellen. Right. The lovely one said, the U.S. and Mexico playing hot potato with Cabo 6 case. They are, but it's so many entities involved. There's different entities involved, and that's why it's taking long. It's not just like a very quick process. It gets sent to the Department of Justice. They got to do their full analysis. Who knows how long it takes for them to analyze it. That can alone, how slow the government is. Y'all, come on, y'all know. Especially the federal government. They are slow and meticulous. That's why I went through the extradition process with you, because I really wanted you guys to know how long it is, because once you know, then it won't be so emotionally exhausting on you, because you already know all the different steps that are involved. Lovely one says, so the Cabo 6 Cash App each other with Quella account, that should be in U.S. soil, being that all 6 accounts was created in the U.S. Girl, I don't know anything about a Cash App, girl. I don't know anything about that. There's so many rumors floating around. Yeah, where is mercy for Shanquella? They showed no mercy. They did not, man. This case right here, Minnie Ripperton, should scare all of you guys straight that you can't trust anyone, man. Anyone. Trust no man. The people that look in your face. Yep. She's doing some schooling. The U.S. Attorney General leads the Department of Justice. Of note, the FBI falls under the DOJ. I'm glad that you guys know that. We got some smart people in the chat. Hope they find a way to honor her legacy in a healing way. That seems to be what saves families of victims like this. Exactly. Justice for Shanquella. We will be advocating for that and just wanting the truth. Wanting the truth and honesty. So I wanted to go over something, guys. I honestly didn't want to talk about this. And I'm still so hesitant to talk about this because I really like this person. And I think he's a great guy and he gives really great content. So I don't have anything against him. But just wanted to point something out just so that we know how to assess people and credibility and things like that. And again, I have nothing against this person. I think he's a good commentary, a good person, but I just was a little bit kind of disappointed in some of the things I saw today. And I gotta talk about it. I do. I didn't want to talk about it. I'm still not really wanting to talk about it, but we got to know everything about individuals so that when we're looking at information, we're able to assess the information that we're getting and look at the full scope. Now, this individual has kind of just stated that, hey, my criminal record doesn't matter. It's, whatever, I have these criminal records. But if anybody with common sense knows that we do need to look at relevant information like that. Yes, I appreciate that you're forward about the information, but it's relevant to look at your credibility at the end of the day. If someone has certain criminal history, I do agree that you should forgive people and not hold their crimes against them. I don't like that, in a society, sometimes we constantly remind people of the things they do wrong. And because people are human and people can change. But at the same time, when you're trying to look at all the information that's being disseminated to you, you do need to vet everything that you're looking at to look at credibility so that you're able to make a sound, objective analysis of the information you're getting. I just think that's important. And it's fair to you as the listener just to know and be aware of it. So in no way am I trying to shed a bad light on this person. I think I personally have nothing against them, but I don't feel it's fair to cite this person without giving viewers a full picture of the person so that they can take or leave the information that's being given to them. You know what I mean? So take it or leave it how you want to take it or leave it. But we got to talk about it. Oh, I feel like I'm pulling teeth out because I really don't want to do this. But anyway, I have to. So our favorite person here. Let's see. Oh, man. Guys, forgive me because I do like this guy. I think he's a cool guy. So Gerald Jackson went on his platform today, and I think he's a good guy. I think he gives a lot of great commentary. He breaks a lot of cases. I have nothing against the guy. I like his personality. But I think when we're out here on these platforms and we're claiming that, we're holier than thou and all that, but then we have another side to us and we're not willing to stand up for the truth, I just feel that's just not cool. And he sat on his platform and he defended this man, Gerardo, knowing this man spewed out a lie that could have hurt the very people that he claims that he's advocating for. He says he's advocating for Salamandra and Bernard, and he loves this family so much. But I feel like this family was victimized by this lie that was spewed by Gerardo Zuniga about this arrest. I'm sorry, but I'm just going to speak from my heart, guys. I really do like Gerald, but I have to do this, okay? So we got to look at the full picture of this guy because you just need to know about him and his background before you look at the information so that you can do your extra research if you are going to look at the information that he gives, because I think he gives some good stuff and I think he is a good reporter. And most of the stuff he says comes out to be credible, but he kind of painted himself in a way today that he was perfect and that everything that he releases is 100% true. And I can't 100% agree to that because if anybody who's been on my platform, anybody will know that I did a story about Lyric Wood. And I don't know if Ellen was in there when I did that story about Lyric Wood, the boy who was killed by the friend and the girl that was with him. And I relied upon NC Beat as a source, actually. I cited him on that source, and he had stated that there was a suspicious person involved, and the name that he stated, we're going to go over the article that I cited on that video, and come to find out this person was not the right person. And I had people in my chat, they were like, girl, this is not the right person, such and such and such and such. And the article I cited was from NC Beat, and he went on his platform today and he was praising himself because he eventually got the right suspect, which was Isaiah Ross, but he failed to give the full picture to his viewers that he did initially talk about another suspicious suspect and that he thought was a suspicious person that was involved and how he went through this tedious steps of investigating this person and come to find out the person wasn't even involved. So we're going to go over that. And then we're just going to go over just a little bit about his background, because I feel like this information is important to look at. I'm not saying that this is what makes a man, but you still need to know because the crimes that he is guilty of shows deception. So this article was released just last year, July 29th, 2021. That was not, it's not like this was crimes that were like decades ago. This is just last year that this article was written, July 29th. And it says Jackson sentenced to prison after being found guilty of extorting a Jacksonville attorney. This is not a small crime. Like, I know he put on his platform that, oh, hey, I did all these crimes, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like a lot of people, especially defense attorneys, do this when it comes to their clients. When they do certain crimes, they like to minimize it and get you just to forget about it. Oh, yeah, my client did this, whatever, move on. But you still need to, when you hear people that are talking like that and they don't want you to pay attention to things, you need to stop. You need to take a deep breath and you need to reassess. So I heard him talk a lot about these crimes, but I never took the time to actually look it up because I was just kind of like, oh, whatever, you know, nobody's perfect. People make mistakes, whatever. But then I was like, you know what? Curiosity killed the cat. I was like, let me go look and see exactly what he's charged with. This man was sentenced to prison for extorting a Jacksonville attorney. That is huge. This is not like a speeding ticket or, I don't know, some petty crime, like, I don't know, reckless driving or something. I don't know. This man went to prison for extorting an attorney. I'm flabbergasted. I didn't even realize the gravity of the crimes he had, because I guess people were talking about it on other platforms, but I never paid attention to it because I just believe in, you know, don't judge people by their past. Don't, you know, focus on that type of stuff. But in reality, now that we've been doing this case, guys, and there's been so many lies, and now you got to really, really study sources to see if you can trust them. I was like, you know what? Let me just look at this dude to see what people are talking about. So, prison after being found guilty of extorting a Jacksonville attorney. And then the article goes on to say that he was convicted for multiple offenses in the past. This is not small. And on his platform, he makes it sound like it's no big deal. Extortion is huge. It's something that we all should know. So I'm sorry, guys, I'm just still shocked because when I saw that, I was like, wow. I didn't take the time to look because I was like, you know, whatever, you know, people make mistakes. So I just don't feel like, you know, people should be judged on that. But when you're looking at credibility and you're trying to figure out whether you can trust a source or not, and this person goes on his platform today and says, if you don't hear it from me, then don't trust it. I hope viewers didn't take that and believe that, because if you did, then that means you're not being wise. You should always question everything out there and confirm everything on your own, not just listen to one source. You know what I mean? But anyways, let's read the article, guys. I'm still stuck on that. It said, Onslow County District Attorney Ernie Lee announced the operator of a local website was found guilty of extortion. Wow. Resulting from a 2019 incident with a Jacksonville lawyer. And 2019 was only a couple years ago. That's still close in time. This is, to me, now I was shocked because I love this dude. I think he's pretty cool. And when I saw this, I'm like, this man be on his platform claiming up and down he is holier than thou and quoting scripture and worship, love the Lord, la, 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 la. But he over here extorting people. I'm like, I don't know. That's disappointing. For me, I just need to at least, ethically, I have to at least disclose this, because if I'm going to cite this person, I need to at least tell people, hey, just FYI, the person that we're getting this from has a crime for extortion, has been to prison, FYI. So just take that, you know, into consideration when you listen to this stuff, just to make sure you're confirming everything. You know what I mean? Gerald Jackson Jr., the operator of the North Carolina beat, was sentenced to an active term of 11 months to 23 months after a jury found him guilty of extortion on Tuesday. Lenoir County Judge Imelda J. Pratt sentenced Jackson, and the state was represented by the Assistant District Attorney, Lori Carroll. Now, these are some significant crimes to me. The way that he spoke on his platform, because mind you guys, I was not trying to judge this guy. I did not look at his criminal history until today. Okay, so I really, because I know a lot of people had been talking about it. And I was like, I'm not even going to go on it because it's probably just some petty little traffic charges or whatever. DUI. I mean, I still think those are still serious crimes, but still, some petty crimes, because the way he communicated on his platform, he makes it sound like it's no big deal. This man went to prison. That is a big deal. That's something you do need to look at. And this person just was in prison 2019. We don't know if this person has changed. Is he really a brand new creation? I don't know. But I'm going to make sure I need to know this so that when I look at his information, I'm not just blindly relying upon his information, but I make sure I confirm it somewhere else. He was sentenced to an active term of 11 months to 23 months after a jury. Now, a jury, because defendants have a choice. They can either own up to their crimes and enter a plea, or they can go through a trial. Now, if a jury finds you guilty, that is to me more monumental than just entering a plea, because the prosecutor has a huge burden. The prosecutor has to convince 12 people to all agree. That's a huge, difficult task. People think it's easy, but it's not, to have to convince 12 people to agree that this one person's guilty. So the fact that he went to a trial and all 12 of those people felt that the prosecutor showed enough evidence to find him guilty, to me, is monumental. To me. And I do think my viewers need to know that, so that if we do talk about some of the articles he does, they have a full picture. They're not just blindsided, with an article without knowing the full scope of who the people we're dealing with. You know what I mean? That's shocking, though. I couldn't believe it. This defendant has engaged in criminal conduct in Onslow County for several years. So it's like he literally has ongoing history of criminal crimes. It's not like he made one little mistake. He has many years of criminal history. That's disturbing for me. I didn't know that. So I was shocked, and I was like, I feel unethical to not share this with you guys, because you at least need to know about it. And this office advocated for active sentences, including an active sentence for his conviction of extortion. Wow, this office advocated for active sentences, including active sentence for conviction of extortion. This man had all kinds of offenses. His other offenses was the citizens of Onslow deserve to be safe from defendants who use the internet to commit cyber stalking and other offenses. They are saying this man committed cyber stalking. Between September 18th and September 19th, 2019, Jackson was accused of extorting money from a local Jacksonville attorney. Wow, extorting money? This is disappointing. I didn't even know any of this, you guys. Wow, extorting money, cyber stalking. These are not just little small petty crimes. The way he described it on his platform today was that, whatever, they're just some whatever crimes. You see how he just kind of glossed over like it was nothing. But when you look at the actual crimes that were committed, these are monumental and they're huge. And you do need to know about this, because this is not like just a traffic ticket. This man was cyber stalking and extorting money from a local Jackson attorney. Wow. And the nerve of him to try to extort an attorney, that is some guts right there. According to Lee, in exchange for not publicly disclosing alleged personal embarrassing information about the attorney, Jackson attempted to receive $4,500 in cash. In exchange for not publicly disclosing personal embarrassing information about the attorney. This is sad because Gerald literally was making fun of and bashing Nazir about the same thing. Nazir was allegedly accused by some woman of doing the same thing. She said that that Nazir had recorded a video of her doing compromising things and was going to blackmail her if she didn't have relations with him. And so she felt forced to do it. Well, here he did the same thing to this guy, except for different things. He just said he was going to disclose embarrassing information about the attorney if he didn't receive money in payment. He didn't receive $4,500 in cash. So it's like, he was like, if you don't send me this money, I'm going to send this embarrassing things about you. Dang. I didn't know that about NCB. I'm actually very disappointed because on his platform, he really portrayed himself as this holy man of thou, and he just quotes all these scriptures, and you gotta. This whole thing online really teaches you to just not trust everything you see on there, because all these people that I'd be just like, wow, they're so amazing. Then I go back and I find out all this stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Wow. And my question is, how do we know that this person has changed? Has he learned from this extortion conviction and other several offenses? That's what they're saying he has. Has he learned from that long history? How do we know that he won't do this type of stuff again? They're saying he has a long history of criminal history. They said, while operating the website and Facebook of NCB, the court says Jackson used the social media platform. He used his platform, the very platform that we've been following, to post, report, and publish information about various individuals, including elected officials in Onslow. Wow. Now it makes sense why these publications disclose this information, because he talked about, oh yeah, they wanted to make me look bad and stuff. Well, they have an ethical duty to let people know. It's all about ethics. Like, they have a duty. If you know something, you don't just hide it from people who are going to be relying upon this person as a source. They need to know the full picture, so they're not coming in blind. It says Lee explained that Jackson threatened to do the same to the attorney if he did not receive the money. He threatened. This is the same man that is on his platform worshiping God, talking about Jesus this, God this, the Lord will vindicate me, and hallelujah. Does that really exemplify God when you're threatening people? It's saying you're going to release their embarrassing information to the public if they don't do something you ask them to do. The attorney, who remains unnamed in Lee's release, never paid Jackson and reported the threats to law enforcement. Wow. And I don't know why he had the guts to do that to an attorney. The attorney knows exactly what extortion is. He did exactly what he was going to go ahead and report it to the police. It was like, that was the dumbest thing he could have done. Dumb. Why would you do it to an attorney who knows the law? That is dumb. That is dumb. I can't believe he had the guts to do that. He really thought the attorney was going to pay him. The attorney knows that extortion. He was going to just entrap him and let him go ahead and just make this threat. That's what the attorney did. He let him go ahead and send all this stuff in writing about this tape and just sent it all to the law enforcement. I can't believe he had the guts to do that to an attorney. I'm just saying, that's a lot of guts. Onslow County Sheriff Office led the investigation against Jackson, headed up by Major Mark Scott, leading to Jackson's charge. Lee added Jackson has built an extensive criminal history. They said Jackson has built an extensive criminal history. This is not like somebody who made a small little mistake. We can understand that if you had a couple of traffic violations or whatever, and you moved on, you said, I've changed, I'm a new man. It's been several years. This man is a career criminal. He has extensive criminal history. This is very alarming to me because I didn't know this. I just came in there with rose-colored glasses and saw the man on the platform talking about God, and I'm being honest with y'all. I'm being very vulnerable with y'all about what I seen, talking about God and so friendly. And it looked as though he was caring about this family. But in reality, I'm wondering, does he really care about this family? Because if he did, how come he didn't? He should have been the main one that defended that family. But he defended this Gerardo guy when this family's hurting because they're confused by the very lie that was communicated. That was confusing to me. I was like, wait a minute, I thought he was standing up for the family. I'm pretty sure they're hurt and confused by the lie and frustrated because you could see the reports we went through. We went through the New York Post about the mother blasting the FBI. We even looked at her face and how drained she is from this whole process. And there's an interview out there where you could see Bernard being interviewed by a YouTuber, and the YouTuber asked him about the arrest, and he doesn't even know. That's mentally taxing. So I thought, of all people, okay, Gerald Jackson's going to get on his platform and he's going to at least say, hey, I don't think it's cool for just to release information like this if you don't know for sure, because the family is hurting, and I just think we need to be careful about that type of stuff. And I'm not blaming Gerald at all. Like, I want to make it clear because Gerald also on his platform, it should be noted that when Gerardo kept talking about the arrest, Gerald didn't seem convinced that on that day when he interviewed Gerardo, he was like, I don't know if this is true, but Gerardo is saying that there was an arrest. Like, he looked like he wasn't convinced. He was like, the family hasn't told me anything. I don't know. So I don't think that part is his fault. I don't think that part. But I think the one thing he should have said was just ethically to say, hey, because we've confirmed that it's not true, I think the ethical journalism would have been to just retract the statement and apologize to the family. Because he made it appear as though he was advocating for this family. And if you really do care about the family, well, then you would be just as hurt as we are that the family's getting all this fake information and they all are very emotionally drained from all the roller coasters of hearing all this fake stuff. And it's very emotional because it's coming from the very source that has been repeatedly lying to them from the very beginning, like saying it was an accident, saying they weren't going to prosecute. Now you got, a Mexican journalist from the same place saying another lie. So it's like, it's a lot for them. So I just thought that maybe Jackson would defend them, but he didn't. I was like, wow. What is he really hiding? What's this criminal history? What is he talking about? So I went to go look and I was like, what? He made it sound like, if you go watch his interview, he made it sound like he was charged with the little petty crimes and people are making a big deal about it. But when I saw the extensive type of crimes and the long history, like I'm about to go over, this is not a little thing that you just gloss over and ignore. This is somebody who is a career criminal. He's made a career out of this. How do we know that he's actually truly changed? He used his platform to also, they're saying up here, he used his platform to report and publish information of various people and elected officials and all this other stuff. And And he clearly had the platform back at this time frame when he was extorting this lawyer back in 2019, still had the platform. So it's like, how do we know if he's changed, if he's a new person? Because they're saying, look, let's look at these prior convictions. And it's like birds of a feather flock together. We just talked about yesterday about Gerardo and his sanctions that he has in Mexico for political violence, gender political violence, where Gerardo Zuniga was sanctioned by the court for basically lying on his platform about this woman who was running for political office and basically saying she used her sexualization to get her position, basically used her body and everything to get her position. It's like now it makes sense why he defended Gerardo, because they're the same, they have the same background. These people are criminals, in my opinion. No ethics whatsoever, but they claim up and down they love the Lord. We got to be careful out here, because everybody out here with all these rose-colored glasses on and these angelic appearances, and then you go and look and you're like, man, this is what we're dealing with. But let's go over this, guys. I'm sorry. I'm just shocked. I'm still shocked, so you might hear me ramble on. It said his prior convictions include 19 counts of felonious false bomb report to a public buildings school in April 2016. 19 counts, guys. This is not a little jaywalking ticket or running a red light ticket. He has 19 counts of felonious false bomb reports to a public building. Bomb reports in April 2016. This is disturbing, because you know what this sounds like? This sounds like that one dude, you know, the guy who went and shot up the gay bar recently? And he had a prior bomb threat that he made to at his mom's house. How do we know that Mr. Gerald's not gonna have a bad day one day and just shoot up a place? We don't know. I'm just saying. 19 counts of felonious false bomb report to a public school building? Dang. I am done. I'm so shocked. In April 2016, misdemeanor computer trespass in September 2016, misdemeanor cyber stalking in September 2017. This man has a pattern of stalking people. Wow. He did it in 2019 to the attorney, and he did it in 2017. Computer trespass. He does a lot of technology crime. Misdemeanor, 2 counts of misdemeanor cyber stalking in 2018. This man has been doing a lot of cyber stalking. Misdemeanor cyber stalking in 2019. Look how many cyber stalkings and computer trespass this man has. 2019 conviction in Jacksonville for a felony convicted of cyber stalking. He is a career felon who cyber stalks people, and he's done it for several years. And he was convicted. Bomb threat perpetrator back in court. But if you go on his platform and watch his live, he makes it sound like it's a walk in the park. It's nothing. These are huge crimes, and they're very disturbing, and they're very quite scary, to be honest. Wow. Calling a fake bomb threat suspect post bomb. But this is the same man that goes on his platform with Bernard, mind you, in that interview. Now I'm thinking back to that interview with Bernard and how he was talking about God and all this stuff to Bernard. And I'm like, wow, is this man even real? Was he just saying all that to cater to Bernard because he knows Bernard is a man of God, or is he real? Because this is not some one mistake. 19 counts, guys. 2016, misdemeanor computer trespass, misdemeanor cyber stalking, 2017, 2018, and 2019, and he was convicted. These are convictions, guys. These are not just charges. He was convicted. That means they're saying he did it. They're on his criminal record. And they say he also has pending probation violations. That's disturbing to me because when you're on probation, you get certain regulations you have to follow. And the fact that he violated that shows he doesn't have any regard for the law. So if he has no regard or respect for the law, what makes you think he has respect for you? Wow, guys, I'm so disappointed. Because I was gassing this guy up. If y'all got one of my videos I did on Winter Donovan, and I was going through Twitter and I saw somebody post all this stuff about Gerald. If you guys watched that video, and I was like, man, why they keep picking on Gerald? Leave him alone. And I never looked at the actual crimes themselves to see what the magnitude was, because when he talks about these crimes on his platform, he deminimizes them to the point where you think it's nothing, so that you don't bother to go look into it because you're like, oh, whatever, it's nothing. He's just talking about a little traffic stop. Who cares about that? You know, everybody speeds. But you don't realize how significant these crimes are, guys. They're huge. That goes to integrity. And if you've ever been a juror on a panel, if you've ever, any of you guys, let me know in the chat, type of 1 if you've been a juror before. If you've been a juror, then when a witness testifies, if they have a criminal record, you will hear, and if it's admissible, if the court says it's admissible evidence, you will hear the opposing attorney ask that witness about what convictions they have. They'll be like, well, have you been convicted of theft in 2017? Or weren't you convicted of false statements in 2021, whatever? Well, the reason why they do that is because it's for you to assess that person's credibility to see whether you should believe what they're saying or not. If you're blindsided and you don't know about these people's backgrounds, then you're like, you think that everything they say is just credible when you don't know these people. This is so sad, man. I'm heartbroken right now. Ugh. Anyways, this office values the hard work of Major Scott and his thorough investigation in this case. Cases in which individuals who threaten, extort, and blackmail the citizens of our community will be taken seriously and zealously prosecuted, added Lee. This office will continue to fight to protect citizens of Onslow County against criminal acts involving intimidation of others, individuals in any form. Reporter Trevor Donnell can be reached by email, and that's you can email him there, or please consider supporting local journalism, blah, blah, blah. So that was like, whoa, guys. I was very shocked because I didn't want to believe that stuff. I thought it was some petty crimes, because the way, you got to be careful when people just try to minimize stuff. They'll be like, oh, don't worry about it. Just people trying to pick on me. It's nothing. And then if you hear somebody say that, go look it up. Go look it up. That's crazy. So the next part of this, guys, is that he went on his platform and he was like, I am the most credible source out there. Every single thing I ever say is 100% truth. And if you don't hear it from me, you better not listen. And I was thinking to myself, not really, because I relied upon you before as a source with one of my stories on one of my pages, the Lyric Woods story. And he swore up and down it was this guy, Claude Brown. I don't know if anybody was ever in my live during that Claude Brown video. And I used his source, his page, his article, and he was saying, oh, he did give a disclaimer. Let me just say, he did give a disclaimer and said, there's no guarantee this is the person. They're just suspicious. But he went through this whole scavenger hunt, bothering and harassing this guy. And he went through the effort of writing an article about it. So it's like you claim up and down you're perfect, but you're not always right. And you keep making it sound like you're perfect and you never make mistakes. And that other people who make mistakes are just these amateur lowlifes, when you're just as human as all of us and you make mistakes too. So he said,
talk so goddamn fast, you might get run up out of there. Y'all listen. And I've been arrogant when I say this. If I have not reported it, don't believe it. And sometimes other media outlets may get to something before I get to it. I have a track record of telling the truth when it comes to stories that I'm involved in. I have never been sued a day in my life. I have not faced one lawsuit. And I have not been told, I have not been disproven yet. There's no one on the internet. And since this case is viral, since they pull up one article or anything on the internet of a story that I have written, and it's been a lie. You will not find one. Not one. There is none.
So he said there is none. Well, that's wrong. Because, like I said, I did this story on Lyric Wood, and I was actually quite embarrassed because I really relied upon him for the story. And he sent us on this scavenger hunt, guys. He first had this allegation that okay, so when he talked about his live today, he used this Lyric Wood story as an example, and he was saying that he got it right. He guessed the right person. It was Isaiah Ross or whatever. But before he ever guessed Isaiah Ross, he was saying there was this suspicious person named Claude Brown, and I did my story relying upon him as a source. And he wrote this article September 30th, 2022. And he was talking about this man here. And if anybody remembers my live on this, y'all remember this man's picture. And he was writing this guy. He was saying suspicious person surrounding North Carolina Lyric Woods and Devin Clark murder. And he was messaging this guy because he suspected this dude right here could possibly be the killer of Lyric and so forth. And so let's go over the article. So, and the me part is actually Gerald Jackson. So Kiss is this guy here that he first felt was suspicious involved in the crime. So Kiss says, and then he says, LOL, not He says, He says, bro, they saying you Claude Brown. That's what Gerald Jackson says. Kiss says, who knows? Who cares? I won't be live for a week because I'm going to my grandma's. And then he says, this story does not confirm or deny that the person discussed in the story is a suspect in the double homicide. So he at least did give us that disclaimer, but he still implicated this guy. And it turned out it was wrong. Last night I went live on North Carolina Beats page while eating some good old Bajogi's chicken with an individual I briefly investigated. My investigation into this individual started a couple of days after the North Carolina Beat received a screenshot with this individual's Snapchat user, Southern P2277. Kiss, here, this is the guy Kiss that he's first suspected. He said, Kiss, didn't you see what you said? So yeah. And the guy says, F that B, let her burn in hell. They were talking about the one girl that was killed with Lyric. I forgot her name now, and he was like, SB, find out who this P, is he dissing on Lyric? Oh, that was the person's name, Lyric. And that's the message he got here that he showed on his article. He said, in the Snapchat message, it seems like whoever was saying F that B, let her burn in hell, my boy killed that B, tagged Claude Brown, Southern P22SS in the snap. On Snapchat, instead of tagged, the app uses the term mention. So they mentioned Claude Brown in the snap. The Snapchat user's nickname on the account was Kiss. After a quick Google search of Southern P227, a TikTok account, TTV Kiss, came up with the name Claude Brown. This name has come up in person and on social media about Brown threatening to put up a bullet in Devin Clark's head. However, I have not personally seen the message. So here he looks for the Southern 227 and this guy, Claude Brown, who he first suspected who could be involved in the death of those two individuals. During my research into Claude Brown, then I could view his TikTok, and with my own eyes, I saw a video that he posted of Lyric Woods. I don't remember anything being on Brown's TikTok that would cause it to be banned as it is now. It seems, though, the more you hear his name surrounding the deaths of Woods and Clark, his social media says it's been banned or deleted. So from this article, it seems like though he's suspicious or implicating this guy, Claude Brown, but he never retracts this article. It's still on his website. If you know that this guy is no longer suspicious, why do you keep his page up? You didn't mention it in your live today. You just talked about how you got this new guy, Isaiah Ross, and you're finally right about it. But you still have this on your page where this guy was implicated when he's not. You know what I mean? So after hearing things about Brown surrounding the deaths of Woods and Clark, I decided to go incognito. So on September 21st, 2022, I added him on Snapchat at the username Southern P2277 and talked with him. His responses to the accusations I was making about what I heard from others about him were weird. But he does acknowledge, he doesn't confirm or deny that this person discussed in the story is the suspect in the thing. And I appreciate that he does do that. My issue is you keep this article up here knowing that this guy, Claude Brown, didn't have anything whatsoever to do with the death of these individuals. Why keep this up here? It just creates the illusion, because I actually found this article in a private group that is, they're advocating for the justice of Lyric and the other individual that passed away. And they all were spreading this around that they thought it was Claude Brown because they were relying upon this article from the NCB. And it never was retracted. That's my problem. If you know that after you've done your digging and your diving and you no longer think this person is suspicious and you found that there is an actual identified suspect, which is Isaiah Ross, why do you go and keep up something that people are using to rely upon when this was before that information was ever disclosed? Because he came up with, he showed us this new article he did on his live today that he did finally get the right person. But I'm like, you never mentioned that you did have an article up there, and you still do, where you were wrong about it. You were blatantly wrong and you didn't retract it. You didn't pull it back. To me, you're just as bad as Gerardo Zuniga. The ethical thing would be to retract the statement. It's still up here. I just pulled this up today, and I'm going to put it in the chat so you can pull it up yourself. Actually, yeah, just after I'm done reading it. I responded back. Everybody said add you. So yeah, Gerald Jackson says, I responded back. Everybody said add you. Brown asked me again, do I know you? Gerald Jackson responded back, do you, bruh? I clearly said everybody said add you. They got your SHIT floating in a screenshot. Brown replied, I know. I'm going to be famous for it. I responded back, LOL. So that's how I found you, bro? I ain't on no creepy SHIT, weird SHIT, just a lot of SHIT going on, and they trying to frame, bruh. Brown replied, it don't bother me. I be too busy streaming. In that little bit of messaging between us, something stood out to me that made my antennas go up. The only part of my last message to him that could have made Brown reply back with that, "It don't bother me, I be busy streaming," is when I said, "Just a lot of SHIT going on. They trying to frame, bruh." No other part of my response would have been made say that, but that part. So after Brown said, "It don't bother me, I'd be too busy streaming," I replied back, "Oh, word, true? That's what's up. I feel you, bro. SHIT crazy around here." The only thing Brown said back was, "Mm-hmm." I then told him to send me his streaming site, which is Twitch TV, his username TTKiss. So he literally went on this long, extensive investigation of this guy, Kiss. He was following him on all his social media sites. He was messaging him over periods of time. And come to find out, he was wrong. So it's like he puts himself on this platform like he is perfect and every single article that he does is correct, when clearly this is an example where he just got it wrong. And it's like, why can't you just admit it? You're over here telling everybody, if I don't report it, you better not listen. Nobody else is above me. I am God. And if people just blindly follow people, they'll fall prey to, that's how easy people fall prey into things, because they don't check and verify things. They just blindly follow these people because they're so persuasive and cunning. I think cunning is the key word. A lot of cunning people out there online. On September 22, I came out and said, "Bro, LOL, why are they saying you Claude Brown?" Because this is the person who he thought was responsible for the crime. And you guys can watch my video on this because I kept it up because I'm gonna have y'all watch it for proof that I was reciting to this guy and come to find out was completely wrong. And that's why I was kind of side-eyeing him for a while, because I'm like, wait a minute, I did cite you in something and come to find out you were wrong. And there was actually another YouTuber that was using the same Claude Brown because they were getting it from his article. Brown replied, "Who knows, who cares? And I won't be live for a week because I'm going to my grandma's." Still bothering this guy. And I do appreciate the disclaimer. Like I said, he at least did the disclaimer, but it's the fact that he still got this all online, making it look like this dude is still implicated. And it's also a clear example, guys, that he does get it wrong sometimes too, because he wanted to just put on his platform today that he is the most accurate reporter out there, and never, ever, 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 ever has he ever made a mistake. And that's clearly not true. You're just as human as everybody else, and we all make mistakes. The key thing is just to come back and just apologize if you find out that things are not true, or update and say, found out that this is no longer true. We've now found out this new information. Just like the same thing with the Takeoff case. All of our beliefs was that we thought it was Lil Cam. I know I did. But now we updated and said, oh, turns to find out, no, he was in possession of a firearm, but he wasn't the one that, well, some people disagree. They think he was the one still, but the authorities suggest that he's not the one, and that they think it's this Patrick guy, Patrick Clark. But that's just an example. So anyways, look, you can see how this guy really went through an extensive, long pursuance of this Claude Brown, like a detective, y'all. He was messaging him on Snapchat. He went on his Twitch. And then he's all, so wouldn't you think Brown would have said, I don't know who that is, or nah, I ain't no Claude Brown. If so, wasn't you? You wouldn't say, who knows, who cares? He gave it away in that response that he was Claude Brown. He's trying to pursue this Claude Brown because he suspects him of being the killer of these individuals. Lyric Wood and the, oh gosh, I gotta remember these people's names, y'all. Y'all put in the chat. He said, then I responded back to Brown and said, LOL, they got your name going around saying you murdered Lyric and Devin. Clearly he's wrong now. We know he's wrong. So why couldn't he reference this article that he made an honest mistake in his little live today when he talked about this story? Because he wanted to make it look like he just nailed it on the first attempt. On the first attempt, guys, I was the one that identified Isaiah Ross. I'm the best journalist in the world. Never look at anyone else but me. I hope y'all didn't fall for that. I hope not. That'll be disturbing. You should look at various sources and really analyze and then make your determination. Brown replied, I don't even live in SC or even near it. I live across the state. I live in Washington. Again, I mean, if someone said they saying I murdered someone, my response would be, I don't even live in SC, even near it. I live across the state. I live in Washington. Who says that someone says people are saying you are Lyric and Devin's killer? Because he's like still suspecting this guy. He's like, who says that after someone says people are saying you're his killer? So he's saying any little thing this guy says, he's suspecting this man because he's not answering it the way he wants him to answer it. Because here he's like, again, I said, if someone said they saying I murdered someone, my response wouldn't be, I don't even live in this seat or near it. I live across the state. I live in Washington. So he's literally analyzing everything that this man says. And just because the man doesn't answer the way he would have answered it, then he thinks that he is Lyric and Devin's killer. And clearly we found out that he was wrong. So this is evident here, in my opinion, that he can have his analysis can be just as off as any of us. We're human. We make human mistakes. So you can't go on your platform and claim you're perfect and you never have in your entire life been wrong about anything. After Brown responded to the murder accusation, he removed me as a friend on Snapchat. So in the screenshots below, you will see at the top right ad, this is because I screenshotted the conversation after he deleted me because I didn't want him to know. I screenshotted the conversation while we were friends on Snapchat because anyone who has Snapchat knows that the app sends notifications when you take a photo and screen record messages. And even though he keeps putting in red that he doesn't confirm or deny, it's still, you can look at the actions of him really literally telling us that he thinks that anything that this man says is suspicious and he's really showing that he could possibly be the one. And so people who were in this group that were advocating for the justice of these victims really was spreading this guy Claude Brown's name around, and they were all literally stalking him because of this article that came out. So this is a copy of the screenshot that we already seen when he was like, the Kiss said, do I know you? And then Gerald Jackson said, everybody said add you. And then Kiss says, do I know you? And Gerald Jackson says, do you, bruh? I clearly said, everybody said add you. They got your SHAT floating around in the screenshot. And Kiss says, I know, I'm going famous for it. Claude says, so that's how I found you, bro. I ain't on no creepy SHIT, weird SHIT, just a lot of SHIT going on. Actually, this is a lot of evidence of cyber stalking, to be honest. This article is like a whole track record of him cyber stalking this dude. He's like cyber stalking him on Snapchat and other places online. Kiss said, it don't bother me. I'd be too busy streaming. He says, oh, word, true. What's up? That's what's up. I feel you, bro. SHIT crazy around here. And then he says, Gerald Jackson says, put me on to yo streaming. I want to check you. And then Kiss says, oh, yeah, that's the same thing. He just put it the same thing. And then check you out, King. I want to check. He said, put me on your streaming. I want to check you out, King. Then Kiss says, and Kiss is Claude Brown, just to let you know. He just has his name as Kiss on his account. He says, I'm not live right now. I'll go live again tomorrow. Then I'll hear again. He's all, blah, blah, blah. I think we read this already. And then Gerald Jackson says, bro, they saying you, Claude Brown. Kiss says, who knows? Who cares? I won't be live for a week because I'm going to my grandma's. Gerald Jackson says, LOL, they got your name going around saying you murdered Lyric and Devin. And Kiss says, I don't even live near SC, even if I live across the state, I live in Washington. Right. He says, I don't know what you will get from reading the conversation, but unless you heard the rumors on the streets, you will quickly understand the messages and see them for what they are. Here's a picture of Claude Brown. And this is the picture he supplied. You can see his little logo he puts on all of his pages. So you know this is from him, raw, uncut, and unfiltered. And this was the person he suspected killed Lyric Wood and Devin, that other Devin guy, and Devin. Was it Devin, y'all? Yeah, Lyric and Devin. This was the person. And turned out it's wrong. Wrong. Lyric Wood and Devin were found shot to death on this day. They were close friends. We all know that part. 17-year-old has been charged in the death. There remains suspicious. Their deaths remain suspicious among the North Carolinians, according to Orange County Sheriff's Office. The 17-year-old suspect is still at large. It's unclear how old Claude Brown is. Let me know your thoughts. So he did this whole story here on Claude Brown, and come to find out it's not right. He told us to show him, and I did. Exhibit A. So it's like, it's an example of we're all human beings. We all make mistakes. You don't have to sit on your platform and act like you're Mr. Perfect and you never make mistakes. And I didn't want to have to talk about him because I really like him personally. I think he's a cool guy. But after I saw that record of criminal history, that is quite alarming and quite disturbing to me. And I'm kind of scared now. I'm a little worried. I'm just saying I'm a little worried because this is not where you just have a little minor traffic stop and you're done, or some tickets on your record. This man has years upon years upon years of cyber stalking, 19 counts of bomb threats to a public school. Wow, sounds like a really disturbing person. You guys be the judge, though. I just wanted you to know the full picture. So when you are out there and we're talking about these cases, we're not blindsided. I don't know, guys. You let me know. This is really a sad day. All right. Take care, guys. Love you all. Good night.